Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Keith. Welcome to my view from the 40. This is my opportunity to talk to you about the Red Blacks game, the Ottawa Red Blacks football game that just took place a couple hours ago at TD Place. The Winnipeg Blue Bombers were in town. What a night. Before we get to that, a couple of things. First of all, ran into an old friend of mine, and he said something to me that I thought was really cool, and I wanted to share it with you. I guess several weeks ago when the BC Lions were in town, he had the opportunity of meeting a fan who was visiting from Vancouver. And he had a very interesting observation. He said, what Ottawa has done from a football perspective in terms of their fan base needs to be copied and replicated throughout the league. He said, you guys have this great location. He's like, you've got, a lot of a great atmosphere here, not just within the stadium, but just outside the stadium with the different restaurants. He says, but once you come into the stadium, he's like, you've got all of these people who don't sit in their seats that just kind of line up by the end zones and just watch the game. You've got people, on the field level having a good time, people in the end zones having a good time. He's like, you guys have like the biggest party and the tickets the cover charge. So I thought that was very clever, and I wanted to share that. And I think it's wonderful that people are coming from different places with outside of Ottawa to come and see games, and they're having a great time. I always like talking to fans who are going to their first football game, so it's nice to know that we're a great place for people to come and watch football. That being said, now let's talk about tonight's game. Today was a game where if Ottawa had won the game, we were pretty much in a great position going into the playoffs. Not just clinching a playoff berth, but going into the playoffs and being in a great position to host the Eastern Final. But by the time this game was done, I was pulling a home alone. Now let's talk about the not so good, and then we'll get into the actual silver lining with this. So at first, this game was very Oprah-like in terms of Winnipeg scored, Ottawa scored, Winnipeg scored, Ottawa scored. You get a score, you get a score, you get a score. It was very Canadian. I loved it. Unfortunately, we stopped scoring, but then Winnipeg kept scoring. I don't believe they had a punt in the first half. Now, challenge is that Ottawa's offense didn't look great, but neither did the defense. There's blame to go all around. What I didn't realize, I heard the stat after, Ottawa has the worst record in the CFL coming off of a bye. And didn't you know, we just came off a bye. So right off the bat, that was unfortunate. There were a lot of issues. From a discipline standpoint, so many useless 15-yard penalties that the Red Blacks took tonight that they didn't have to. Defense didn't look great until late in the game. Offense didn't look great until late in the game. Kudos to Ottawa, down by 15 points, able to come back and force overtime within the last 4 and a half minutes of the game. Didn't think that was going to happen. It did. Unfortunately, in overtime, things didn't go our way. But kudos to Ottawa for getting there. Listen, at the end of the day, it's a loss, and it sucks, but very impressed that they were able to get to overtime. It's so entertaining to me, some of the so-called fans that we have in the city. People leaving early, people, taking off, oh, this is over, we're done. And I thought we were about to witness a miracle on Bank Street, and we pretty much did, because we got to overtime, and then things just came up short. I say it's entertaining because not just because of the people who left, but here we are down 15 points, 4.5 minutes, we make the comeback, everyone's happy, but then in overtime it doesn't go well, and then I'm hearing, oh, Harris sucks, get rid of Elizondo, blah, blah, blah. Just the whole fair weather mentality will always have me shaking my head because I don't get it. I don't understand how some fans, I'm not saying all, but some fans can be so fickle and so weak. 100% it sucks when your team loses, but that's not when you jump off the bandwagon. That's when you cheer harder. So I said there's a silver lining, and there is. Do you remember earlier this year, Ottawa went to Hamilton? Well, if you don't let me refresh your memory, Ottawa ended up winning that game. The reason I bring that up is Ottawa and Hamilton each have 4 games left in the CFL season. Ottawa still plays, they go to Edmonton next week. They have a home-and-home series with Hamilton, and then they finish the regular season against Toronto. Hamilton, on the other hand, goes to Toronto, the home-and-home series with Ottawa, and then they have their last game against Montreal. So I'm thinking Ottawa wins 2 games. Let's just say they win 2 out of those remaining 4 games. And let's just say I think Hamilton's going to win 3. At the end of the day, if it plays out like that and Ottawa doesn't lose any more than 2 and Hamilton doesn't win any more than 3, guess what? We're hosting the Eastern Final. The only thing is that the Eastern Final means that we get a week off. So that means we'd be coming off of a bye. So hopefully this time hosting the Eastern Final and coming off of a bye won't be a bad thing. Because if history repeats itself, let's just lose a couple games and go into the Eastern semifinal and then keep on going. But no, let's not do that. Let's just host the Eastern Final. So the loss tonight, from a grand scheme of things, is concerning because Ottawa didn't play a consistent game. Harris looked really good. 3 touchdowns, over 350 yards of passing, but not consistent throughout. At the end of the day, you want to get the win. We didn't, but more so, I'd like to see the offense moving a lot better. When the best player on your team is your kicker, with no disrespect to Lewis Ward and his fantastic accomplishment tonight with 40 consecutive field goals, but when the best player on your team is your kicker, there's a bit of a concern. So we have some things that we need to sharpen up. I look at Edmonton as a huge game, and if we can go into Commonwealth and get a win, what a statement that'll be. And I'm hoping that we're able to do so. We'll see. Edmonton's been sputtering lately. This might be the time to take advantage of them. A couple of other things that I wanted to mention. Hey, OSEG, for the last 5 seasons, we've had a cheer and dance team come out and perform. How about we do a couple of things like get their music right? Huge respect to the dance team. They came out, for those of you not in Ottawa who weren't at the game, and of course they don't show this on TSN, the dance team came out to do a routine, and halfway through the routine, the music stopped. Just completely shut off. What was really cool was the dance team, without missing a beat, just completed their routine. And I offer that up to you because you've got 20 or so dancers on the field in perfect unison, in perfect choreography. You know, it's like the music was a benefit to us. They're just completely nailing the routine. So you're like, okay, they got through that. But then when they came out for their next routine, no music at all. So I'm under the mindset of, I understand that some people have different views on cheerleading. I look at it in terms of, I totally respect what they do for our community. So if you're not going to at least introduce them, which for whatever reason our team has a problem doing, other teams don't, but Ottawa can't figure it out, let's get the music right. Let's give them the respect that they deserve. So from a fan perspective and from a customer perspective, not cool. Anyways, at the end of the day, Red Blacks are still in good shape. Let's not panic on this one. It sucks, you know what? But at the end, I'm not looking at the loss at the end because, yes, that was unfortunate. I'm looking at the comeback in the last 4.5 minutes because I didn't think Ottawa had that in them. I don't know where that came from. It was like they were kind of chilling throughout the whole game, and then all of a sudden it's like, haha, here we are. So I love that. Oh, and one other thing. I'm not usually one to complain about the referees because I think there's enough people that do that. Early in the game, there was this ridiculous pass interference call against Ottawa because a Winnipeg receiver completely and effectively sold some contact. But later on in the game, when Ottawa got completely and utterly mugged, no call. So for those people who are complaining about the officiating in the CFL, I'm not always with you, but tonight I was, because tonight's officiating was terrible. Let me know your thoughts on tonight's game. CFL_fan on Twitter, Facebook.com/WhittyWhittier and WhittyWhittier.com. Thank you so much for checking this out. My name is Keith, and that's my view from the 40.